All right, we are live. Thank you, everybody, for tuning back in tonight, the Wednesday Proud Masculine live stream. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Hit that like on your way in. Show me some support on this channel. There's one thing you could do that doesn't cost you anything. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe. Leave a comment. Participate. Get me up in this algorithm. Get my channel out there to grow the channel to reach the men who need help, to need to hear this. And we'll get it going. Wait for a few more people to come in. We will then we'll get rolling. So tonight is a Q&A, but there's a few things I want to address, some announcements I want to make before we get started here, before we get too far. Patreon group still in the works. I'd like to see the membership up a little bit. I'd like to get a minimum 10. And we'll have 2 tiers of the Patreon group, tier 1, tier 2. Tier 1 is going to be weekly I got it scheduled at an hour and a half long, one-on-one Zoom, just us. You get me all to yourself to go over your questions, anything you have about anything you're working on that you need some guidance in. And you'll get that opportunity within the group. We'll answer questions in order they're asked to address anything you have personal going on that you would need some direction on week by week. Tier 2 is almost the same, except it's twice a month, 2 times monthly, bi-monthly. Every Sunday, we'll do a private live stream, and you get me all to yourself and just us, no audience. So we can bring the more personal stuff. And then also with the Patreon, what it would allow me to do is to make what we can do in these sessions and on the Patreon videos, the information I can give can be more in depth. It can be more about some more personal things relating to dating, sex, relationships, some things that you may not want to ask on here, and some things that I just can't talk about on YouTube that censors this. So it's going to be off the hook. It's going to be a great group. Not only that, do you get to get my attention one-on-one personally. You also get to build a group of like-minded men that you can feed off each other and hopefully develop some kind of friendship and partnerships from this group. It's going to be our community, a proud masculine community. And it's something I've been looking forward to doing for a very long time. I was out the last 2 weeks. Things have just been crazy. You know, this is not my primary source of income. I am a contractor. I've been under the gun with some deadlines. And so the last 2 weeks, I just wasn't able to make it in. That's just the way my time's been occupied lately. And that's okay. I'm here tonight. And we're going to pick pick up where we left off. Also, a new feature, if you look on your YouTube, it shows under the chat bar for me. I now have available for super chat, for donations. And if you have questions, if you want something midstream, and I will answer the super chats as they come in. And that'll also be a great way to contribute to the channel and help me build and grow, not only to have more time to up the quality of the content, and it would allot me more time and more energy into getting better equipment and making these live streams better and more suitable to be more available for you as the viewers. So yeah, and that's about it. I have some guests coming up scheduled, tentatively not this Wednesday, but the next. I forget the date. I got a real interesting special guest coming on. Well, we're still working out the logistics on how we're going to reach each other and how we're going. He's got a little bit more busy schedule. He's in another state. And we're feeling out how we can get him on the stream. So we will coordinate at a time and a day. I'm shooting for our regular day, regular time. But if I have to move a little bit to get to accommodate his schedule, then that's what we're going to do. But we should see that in about 2 weeks. Y'all going to love this. This is something of, I like to bring people here who have something life experience, real life experience to offer. And also, I like it. I like interesting things. I like people who have interesting stories. I'm a sucker for a good story, especially people who have had to come from the depths of hell and rebuild themselves and show us a different side of life that we don't see all the time, that most people don't get to show, and you get to hear it firsthand here. So with that being said, let's get started. Tonight is a Q&A. Remember that super chat's in there, so feel free to hit it, and any amount you deem of value that I've given, give it that amount. Of course, I'm not saying you need to, but it would be much appreciated, and it only helps to benefit the channel. But while we're waiting on the chat to fill up, and there was something that was asked to me a couple of streams back. I think it was on one of the nights of Lysander, and a young man asked me about dating single mothers. And all right, we're gonna get to that, DT, and we'll get to that next. Let me go through this real quick. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll get to this first and I'll circle back. A young man was walking down a quiet street one night and notices a couple having a heated argument over the topic of her cheating on him. Should he intervene? No. Look, obviously, if she's getting beaten to a pulp, or, if this guy's, if she's clearly in some serious danger, I have a hard time telling you not to do that, because I would intervene. But as far as when you see two people arguing, and look, not only have I experienced this at a young age, I was about 18, I took up for this chick, and thought the guy was being a little too aggressive. But and I've also a good friend of mine in law enforcement, has been in law enforcement for many years, is a cop. Now he's a detective. At the time he was a cop. And you see, you don't know what this is about. And you could assume it was on the topic of her cheating on him. And but what you're walking into is a very volatile situation, especially if a guy just got news that his girl cheated on him. This dude might be losing his shit. And he may have lost all sensibilities and lost the ability to be rational in the moment. He's going to do something really violent and impulsive. And I wouldn't suggest you put yourself in that position. You don't know if this guy's got a gun or a knife, or he's just going to go ballistic on you. And for what? Sticking your nose where it doesn't belong. But in other situations, well, back to what I was saying about the law enforcement officers, that these people go to these domestic abuse calls, and a lot of them are repeats, because the woman always goes back to the guy. I've personally witnessed in the French Quarter in New Orleans, this guy come and get in between a guy and his girl. The guy gets flipped. They start fighting, and she starts whipping the hero's ass, like beating on him while he's beating the boyfriend. So, no, it's none of your business. And if you know for a fact, which I highly doubt you're going to know exactly what they're arguing about, but if you know for a fact she cheated on him, then that's between them two. And the point is, and I know we're supposed to, you'll get shamed by society and other women. Oh, you wouldn't take up for a girl. Like, more oftentimes than not, a woman who's with a man knows what he's capable of and knows there's a possibility of that. She still makes that choice to stay with that guy, then it's none of your business. And you don't know what could happen. That's an extremely volatile situation where you could get involved and you can hurt yourself, get yourself hurt. You could injure the other person and wind up in jail. You can accidentally injure the lady, wind up in jail. Like, there's too many negative outcomes, because once you engage in violence, and that's anything, even if you're just at a fist fight, at a ballroom or at a public event, and something breaks out, you don't know which direction that's going to turn in. You don't know how good or how bad that's going to go. You could get the best of this dude and crack him, and he falls down and hits his head funny on a parking block or a bar stool, a corner of a table, or hits his head wrong and he dies. Now you go into jail for murder. Over what? Sticking your nose where it didn't belong. And this is why I don't condone violence. I believe every man should be ready to inflict violence immediately and ruthlessly at any time to protect himself and his loved ones. But my philosophy is avoid it at all costs. If you have an opportunity to get out of danger, to get out of harm's way, to get out of there, swallow your ego, swallow your pride, and get yourself out of there. Preferably, don't put yourself in position to go to places where there's going to be a great potential for violence. And I know you could easily say that could happen anywhere. Yeah, of course, but there's other places that are more obvious, where there's a lot of late nights, alcohol, drugs, nightclubs, and ballroom, especially in sketchy areas. Like the places you go, you hear enough about to know whether you're going to go or not. And my philosophy is learn how to be violent, have the capacity for extreme violence, but avoid it at all costs. And just be aware of that. And especially nowadays with cameras and phones and everybody, like you could very well have been defending yourself, but the only footage somebody got is you laying this dude out or dropping him on his head. He dies. You have no leg to stand on. It's your word against somebody, one of their friends, or somebody, random person standing in a crowd whose phone gets subpoenaed in your case. And it's just not worth it. Now, there's a line that is crossed where sometimes you may have to put hands on somebody. That's just reality. As a man in this world, you may have to fuck somebody up. And if you got to do it, you got to do it. But just make sure that you understand the ramifications of the aftermath. Now, the good part is if you martial arts, combat sports, if you can fight, chances are people are going to be less prone to start shit with you. I always tell my son, you want to avoid violence, learn how to fight. Learn how to fight. There's a certain aura and a certain posture and a certain position you take in society. Well, people, like I can spot people who can brawl and I can spot people who wouldn't do shit just by looking at them. And you give off a certain aura of probably don't want to mess with that guy, or he'll take up for himself. He will stand up. It's more likely you're going to be left alone. But you always got that drunk asshole and, these people who romanticize violence, who thinks it's fun and they want to be tough guy and they want to show off. They want to do this and that. And they get some kind of gratification on trying to punk you or show that, they're tough. You can't avoid those people. But I mean, so what you want to learn how to fight for is number one, to learn to protect yourself, preserve life. And secondly, how to end it quick with the least amount of damage possible. Like if you know how to get inside on somebody and wrap them up in a choke and knock them out, choke them out, it takes 4 seconds. I've had it done to me many times. I've done it to people many times. You set that choke right, it's 4 seconds. Set them down, lay them on the ground and walk off. Instead of getting into some entangled brawl where, because you just don't know. What if this person is an epileptic and you crack them in the jaw, you hit them right in the butt and boom, you knock them out, their brain goes into a seizure and they die. I mean, that's something that has to be thought about. Or what if they kill you? I mean, do you really want to go to prison because somebody's puffing up to you because you bumped their shoulder walking in a crowd, or they spilled a little drink on your leg, on your new pants? Yeah. I mean, look, you could stand and observe a minute. We all have that propensity to kind of watch and see what's going to happen. You see a little violence. Ooh, let me see what this is about. I prefer to get the fuck out of the area when I see anything. When I hear people getting loud, it's time to go. Let's go. I mean, obviously, and you see, we're biologically, it's in our DNA. When we hear women in distress and babies in distress, our fight or flight system wakes up. We go into protective mode. We get a dump of adrenaline and want to go save the world. We want to go protect. And that's just the way we're wired. You get heightened, you get nervous. You start breathing a little heavy, your heart starts beating faster, you start breathing a little more shallow. Oh, I got to do something, I got to do it. And then you get this illusion of action that you have to go take and rescue. But think for a minute, let it play out. Give yourself 2 seconds to play the ending of that out. If this person pulls out a weapon, then what you going to do? They pull out a gun and shoot you. Or then you don't know the chances of, like in your case with the girl cheating on the guy, you might go back to her after you've taken this hard stance and put yourself in danger potentially, and he goes back to her. Same thing with the girl. Yeah, he beat her. She's going back to him every other time. It's a thing. It's a real thing. And all for what? Because you wanted to be the hero. I'd err on the side of minding your business. Personally. Because there's just too many variables, too many possibilities that could go sideways. And one is prison. And you don't want to go to prison. Especially over some dumb shit. Sacrifice your freedom and your future, for somebody arguing, potentially. And it could happen. It's a realistic outcome. And you don't know, the cops could come and, if you were taken up for her, she could turn out and lie and say you were the aggressor. And you're guilty. You get assault or battery. Still may get a jail term. Just too many things. I would err on the side of not doing that. Back to what I was saying before about the question that was presented. A young man asked my opinion on dating single moms. And I gave a really good answer. I was put on the spot. I believe we were at the end of the show. And there's a few things I left out. And I think I'll brush on my answer from what I remember. From what I can recall, I said, there are certain circumstances, like one, if she's got older kids, adult kids, who have their own lives, semi-functional and good relationship with the kids. That's not bad. You don't have kids in the house. You didn't have to babysit them and make sure they fed and make sure they get their homework done. And she doesn't have to find a babysitter. That's one of the things you could look at if she has older kids. Also knowing that dating a single mom, you're not going to be first. You'll never be first in her life. And here comes a certain degree of responsibility that's expected of you. But here's what happens is she's got her children. And if you have a different philosophy on raising kids, and these kids are going to be a part of your everyday life, if you get into a relationship, then this is her kids. This is her children. She'll want you to provide. She'll want you to help her with the kids and take them to practice and be involved in their lives and help them do shit. But what happens is if y'all have a different parenting style and a different opinion, a different philosophy on discipline, you essentially can't enforce that because that's not your children. So you're going to be expected to fulfill the responsibility of the father with zero authority. And that'll never work. You'll be so full of resentment and it'll never work. The kids will never respect you because they know they don't have to listen to you. And the mom has already displayed, don't talk to my kids like that. No, you can't spank my kids. No, you can't punish my kids. But she'll want you to do the other stuff that comes along with being a provider and a caretaker for these kids. That's one thing to look at because it's not all negative. It's not all negative. Personally, I wouldn't date a woman with younger kids just because I have this thing about raising somebody else's offspring. Like I have a son of my own and I've done that. And then you got to think of the other parent. If the father's in their life in any kind of way, sometimes that can get complicated, having a spouse involved, co-parent. they call it. How are you going to get along with them? How do they see you? Are they going to make it harder for you at home when the kids are with them to tell them, don't listen to him, he's not your dad, or he's an asshole, that's your mom's boyfriend, he's a bum, he's this, and just constantly talk down about you around the kids when you're not there. Then they come home, they have this attitude towards you. You know, to me, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. But like I said, if she has older kids, and it's something to consider, and a good relationship with her children, and they're respectful, and when they do come to visit or spend time, that they're very respectful to you, and you know, they don't cause a ton of drama where you constantly have to be putting out fires in the family. Because again, it's going to be your responsibility to uphold a certain thing, but zero responsibility. You can't enforce anything. And this is the part I'm about to tell you is the part I left out. And this is something nobody thinks about. And I had this happen. I dated a girl when I was 19 who had a son. He was still a baby. I think he was about 10 months old when we met. 10 months, close to a year. And I really didn't even understand anything about single mother. I was raised by a single mother. And I can tell you, the men she dated didn't last because of me. But because I knew. And my dad would do the same thing to me. That's not your dad. You don't answer to him. So the guy would tell me, you need to listen to your mom. I'd say, fuck you. Who are you? You're taking my mom on a date. So no, that's how I was. I was a handful growing up. But here's the part people rarely think about is, so you get with this girl and everything's great. You get along. She's got a well-behaved child, or children. They start looking up to you as a father figure. And you essentially living your best life with this woman. I mean, things are going great. Work's going good. You move in together. Y'all got a happy home. You know, you're combining money. You know, you're building a nice little life for you and her kids. Now they kind of feel like your kids. They're calling you dad, and you take them to school, and you help them with homework, and you do fun things together. You go on vacations, you go to dinners. It's even to the point where you spend time with them without her there. And you take them to go to the movies, and you do fatherly things with them. Well, guess what? What happens over time is you're gonna fall in love with these children, and you're gonna get attached to these children as yours. Well, in a marriage with a biological child, if you get a divorce and you play your cards right, you still get to be in your child's life. I know I've been heavily involved with my son's life. He's older now, but even through when his mom and I split, he was about 16. And that never stopped. Her and I co-parented well together. Anything that came about, she would call me. I can't deal with him. Can you help me with this? Yeah, sure. She never tried to restrict me from seeing him. From what I understand, she never talked unfavorably about me. I never talked unfavorable about her. And I hate to say it, but that's the exception. That's rare. But anyway, back to the point. If she decides to terminate the relationship, as she has the right to do that, just like you have the right to, you got to take into account, even if you think it's a good idea to terminate the relationship, you're going to grieve those children. You're going to grieve that loss. It may even get to the point where they matter more than her. And she has every right to say you cannot see her kids ever again. Just like that. Just like that. So that's one huge key point that I left out to that answer. If you should date single mothers. And that's something most people don't even think about. Now, look, and I'll reiterate what I said before in my answer in the previous stream, is that, look, if you just have a casual thing with her and y'all just hooking up, yeah, who cares if she's got kids or not? You're not going to meet the kids. You're going to spend time with her, maybe once a week, go do something fun, go home, hook up, maybe have breakfast, go about your separate way. And that's it. If you want to have a good time, she wants to have a good time, she'll call you. Come over, she'll come over there, you go over there. You might go do something fun on certain nights, but there's no attachment. And Huge thing to consider. I think that's probably more important than anything to think about before you start dating a single mom. Is that you prepared? Because I know this to have happened to men. And look, when a woman's done with you and she gets cold, she's ruthless. She doesn't give a shit about how bad you're feeling or how much you're mourning. She don't even care that the kids want to see you. If she's done, she's done. She's moving on. And that's it. You want to see how women change, how cold they get when they want to break up and go explore some other things. You'll see quick. And she will completely and immediately cut you out of their lives that quick. Look, this isn't working out. I don't want to be together anymore. Can you move out? Or we're moving out. What about the kids? No, you're not allowed to see the kids anymore. And that's it. It's over with from that point on. And if you try to do anything, it's not your children, you'll go to jail for stalking, kidnapping, whatever the case may be. Like, you can't do that. So it's just something to think about. I always encourage men to think about, look at it at every angle before you start dating a woman with kids. And along with some of the things I told you, you make a decision based on that. Next question. You caught your part of cheating, but she doesn't know that you've done the same to her in the past. Do you forgive her and work things out? No. If a girl cheats, she's gone. That's an unredeemable offense. There's no coming back from that. If a woman cheats on you, it is over for good. It'll never be the same. Even if she knows she made a mistake, she comes back to you, it's off. The dynamic will never be the same. She'll never respect you again. And a dude cheating on a woman and a woman cheating on a guy are two totally different things. And I know people are like, well, if men can do it, women can do it. No, you can't. It's not the same. Sex does not hold the same value and meaning to different sexes. I don't encourage you to cheat. I mean, if that's not the arrangement you have, it's not the agreement you have in the beginning of the relationship, like, hey, I'm still going to see other people. She says, okay, but don't be dishonest about it. Be out front, be out in the open if that's what you want. But if you agree to be exclusive, stay exclusive. And before a woman cheats, and I'm not going to get too deep into the whole hows and whys, because the way women receive sex and intimacy and what that means to them as opposed to what it means to us. But if she cheats, she's already made a decision about you, that she doesn't respect you. That she, like, once she crosses that line, that's like the ultimate fuck off when a woman cheats on you. She has already given herself and made herself emotionally and physically and sexually available to another man. That's not something that ever goes away. It never gets better. She will never view you as the same person. Matter of fact, she'll think less of you for taking her back. There's a saying, men cheat to save a relationship, women cheat to end a relationship. And I've had this debate so many times. And I've conquered it every single time. If a woman cheats on you and you go back to her, she tells you, look, I got to get something off my chest. I cheated on you. And you're like, oh, we can work this out. She's going to think, you pathetic piece of shit. I just let another guy stick his dick in me and you're going to take me back? Like, I'm tainted. Like, I pretty much told you, you don't mean shit to me, and I'm willing to sabotage this whole relationship just to have another guy's dick in me. And you allowing that? Like, you're going to be okay with that? You're pathetic. And that's what she's going to think. She's not going to say that. The sex will never be the same. Her attitude will never be the same. Her true desire for you never be the same. And the ugly part is, if it was a decent experience, she will be thinking about that guy. That's the truth. The hard truth. But you see, society's got women programmed these days to think, well, men do it. You can do it. No, you can't. uh, a man can be in love, total in love, head over heels with his woman, and just love her like men love women. Go have sex with a woman, and you won't miss a beat. You'll love that woman just the same as you did before and after you did it. That sex doesn't mean a thing. And I'll give you a short description why. I said I wasn't going to, but I'll give you the short version. Men are built to conquer. Men are built to receive, to submit. We take, we hunt, we kill. Women receive, they submit. So when I'm on the prowl and I get sex, I've won, I've conquered, I've overcome that woman in a sense. My strength, my masculine qualities, my vibe encouraged her and made her submit to me, to take her. Men are built to give, women are built to receive the dick in every way. So what that means is that woman had to have submitted to another man. And when a woman submits to a man, it has nothing to do with being sexual. It has everything to do with the bonding, the connection, and the power and strength she feels from that man. And if she offers that, if she entertains another man in any way, shape, or form, that's cheating. If she's texting with another guy, they low key, and they know when it's inappropriate, but that's cheating. That's opening the door for something disastrous. A lot of men do not get consistent quality female attention. So even if the lady was coming out as harmless, just a little harmless adult banter, and that guy is not, unless he's a dude who just gets ass all the time, like a fucking playboy who's had experience and knows how to attract women, he's going to take it as, ooh, this chick wants me. And she could just have made a harmless comment, something, funny in the moment, something sexual, borderline sexual. Like, yeah, you couldn't handle me. Something like that. You know what I mean? Any kind of way. And that guy could take it as, this chick wants me. Now he's going to be giving her a lot of attention. And he's going to be thinking shit. She may have said that and forgotten about it, thought it's, haha, that's funny, and walked off and went about her day. But he hasn't. And that is the potential for something to go wrong and be misinterpreted is in there now. She's essentially opened that door for something fucked up to happen. And now this guy thinks he's got an in with her. So what about the time when, she's got the work husband, the guy friend? There's always some title. There's always some role they play. And this typically happens at work. They spend a lot of time with men at work and less time with you. Who do you think has more of an opportunity to sit and have conversations, ask her questions, get to know her, make her giggle, make her feel special, make her feel heard, make her feel important? You know what I mean? Say you have a little downtime in your relationship. You've run into a little rough patch, 1 or 2 months, and you're kind of at odds, and she's feeling down one day and feeling, not feeling it. She goes to work. Well, guess who gets to be the shoulder to cry on? Yeah, that guy. So I said it once, I'll say it a million times. It's not a guy's job not to hit on your girl. If you date attractive women, she's going to get hit on. It's her responsibility, duty, and commitment to the relationship and respect for you to immediately shut that shit down. Immediately. To not even let it go past a flirt. To make it abundantly clear that she is happy and secure where she is and she has no interest in that shit. And if she does anything else, you've been warned. Because the shit always starts off playful. I've seen it. I've worked in co-ed environments. I've seen it. My own two eyes. I've watched affairs unfold right in front of me. And that's like opening Pandora's box. This is why if you're my girlfriend, no girls' nights. You're not going to hang out in nightclubs and bars and go drink and, at all hours of the night and doing that shit. Like, why would you even want to possibly open the door to invite that kind of complication and to put the relationship at risk? You mix peers, and women are a lot more susceptible to peer pressure in their environment and the crowd they're with. They're a lot more malleable when it comes to adapting to their environments, like kind of fitting in so they don't make waves. So you add that, and you don't know what kind of friends she's got. A lot of times you get these single chicks who go fucking do that and want to pull the happily married, a happy girl that's in a relationship and with them to go do that drinking and hoeing. And, you get the drinking, you got the environment, you got the music, you got some good looking men, and sprinkle in some alcohol and some trouble at home. And you have the recipe for a successful recipe for a fucking affair. So any of that shit's cheating, and it should not be tolerated. You need to make that shit known in the beginning. And that's a non-negotiable. That ain't like if she throws a fit and calls you an asshole and says something ugly and disrespects you. Or, she forgets to pick up the milk or, something. This is why it's so important that you discuss boundaries. It's real important why you have boundaries. You should know your boundaries. You should have your boundaries written down and understood. That way, when the time comes, if you're seeing somebody, when the time comes, because if you like somebody and you keep seeing them more and more, that conversation is going to happen. So what are we? So what do you want out of a relationship? What do you want out of a partner? What do you want out? That comes up. And you got to be able to answer that shit, because that's the golden opportunity for you to lay it on the line, what you expect and what your boundaries are and what your non-negotiable boundaries are. Because you can have boundaries. If there's one thing about a boundary, is it's going to be tested. And it's not their job to not test your boundary. It's your job to enforce it. So with the boundary, you have to have a consequence. Here's the thing. If you cheat, I'm done. We're done. If I find you giving attention to another man, we're done. No guy friends, no girls trips, none of that shit. If you want to be with me, if you want to be my girlfriend, here are the expectations and the boundaries that I have. And that's when you set that boundary. And you can tell her, like, if we're going to be serious, I want to be with somebody who takes care of themselves, takes care of me, has interest in health, wants to live a long, happy, productive life. It's a great communicator, not a constant drama queen. But when something comes up, a disagreement comes up, we can handle it lovingly, maturely, and functionally without getting toxic and nasty to each other. No blowing up and making these outrageous, impulsive statements of, I don't want you anymore, or get out, and, all this inflammatory shit. And that's the time to have that conversation. And when you set that boundary, it's your job to enforce it. And if she partakes in any behavior that you set for your non-negotiables, it's done. Yeah, it's going to suck. It's going to hurt a little bit, but it's going to hurt a lot longer and a lot worse if you keep letting that shit slide. Did you find out, yeah, I got a guy friend, and we had lunch, huh? Well, she said, what? Don't be insecure. What, you don't trust me? Are you insecure? They use that stupid shit all the time. So no, I'm absolutely secure, and I'm absolutely confident that that's not going to be tolerated. If you back down and say, well, I do trust you. Okay, then. I'm a grown-up. I can do whatever I want. Yeah, okay. I shouldn't be so controlling, because that's what they'll say. You're so controlling. Women don't have a clue about that shit. They don't understand the meaning of really valuing and honoring something. But that's just a manipulation tactic to throw you off the scent. And you back down to that, guess what the next conversation is you're going to have? You're going to wonder why she's texting him good night and has a picture of her in a nightie in her outgoing messages to this guy. That's going to be the next conversation. Or you find out they fucked. And that's going to hurt way worse than you ending it because you foreseen the outcome. And I guarantee you, that's never a good time. It's going to hurt no matter what, but the degree of hurt is going to be different if you let that shit slide and walk into that situation. On the first date, should a man ask how many sexual partners? No, you should never ask that. You should never ask a woman how many sexual partners she has. If you know what you're doing and you know women and you understand yourself and women, she doesn't have to tell you. You'll know. She's not going to tell you the truth. Anyway, don't put her in a position to lie to you. You shouldn't even be talking about sexual partners and pasts. That her behavior will tell you everything you need to know. John Richie Gooby has ruined my daughter's life. It was following a breakup. Please elaborate, Craig. And who is John Richie Gooby? Interesting. I'd like to know more. And guys, remember, if you have a question to press and you want to jump in and cut the line, we have that super chat. Add a little donation to that. We'll put you on the forefront. Put you right in there. So yeah, I hope you answer that. Yeah, do not ever ask a woman how many people she slept with. Women will always lie about that. There's a certain shame women bear for having sexual partners, especially if it's high. But they don't want to tell you that. And I mean, to be honest with you, do you really want to know? If she's a well-adjusted woman who has the qualities that you're looking for in somebody, she treats you good and the sex is fucking off the charts with you, and she honors you and she honors the relationship, you don't even need to know. But usually their behavior will reveal that. And you'll have a roundabout idea. What are some of your first date questions? I don't have a script. I kind of go with the flow. What you want to do on the first date is put yourself. So what you got to do before you start dating, or even if you are dating now and don't do this, you got to put yourself in a mindset. I'm going to do X, Y, Z and have fun. You're invited to come along. When you set a date, you set the date, time, and place. You can even suggest the attire. I do. But as far as, like, I don't really have a format. I'm pretty good organically, just going with the flow. And you really, what you don't want to do, what you want to be real careful is not turning a date into an interview, like a job interview. Because I know a lot of guys get real fucking robotic and mechanical about that. Just relax, have fun, be in the moment, and there will be an abundance of things to talk about. And if you're doing it right, you're barely going to say anything. Because there's one thing women do love is to talk about themselves. And you honestly, and look, we'll go deeper into this in Patreon because this is something that deserves a very detailed description and something I've observed and participated in for many years on my dates. And this is actual real-time actionable advice and direction. We're not going to get into it too much here. But I could set it up to where every date you have, it's a successful date. And if the date's not going well, about the first 10, 15 minutes, you get up and leave. And I've done that before. If I can tell that this person's going to be just unpleasant or she's one of these entitled bitches, no thanks. pay the bill, and wish her good night. But to answer your question, son, is I don't really ask questions. Well, I do ask questions. That was foolish of me to say. I don't have a script. I don't have a format. Like if you met on a dating app and they have like part of, info about themselves in the bio, you can ask something about that. You just set the ball rolling. It's kind of like giving a spark to the fire. It's all she needs is a little spark. You to be warmed up. And if she asks you a question, you keep it pretty vague. Keep it mysterious. Keep it fun and mysterious, and then turn it back to her. Let her do the talking. What you want at the end of the date is when you drop her off and she goes home, she's going to think, oh my God, I told him everything. He hardly said anything about himself. He was so mysterious. Well, he said he did this, but he didn't give me a clear answer. I wonder what he meant. And let her imagination take over. A woman's imagination is your best friend, bud. So, women love like romance novels. That genre appeals to women. Women can get off sexually reading these books. And they get to disappear into this fantasy of the, shirtless guy with the long hair who rides off on horseback. And he's like, oh, whatever happened to Prince Charming? Like these love stories. You got to let her write that romance novel in her head about you and about y'all's experience. So you shouldn't even be, but don't make it like a job interview. That's the best thing I can tell you. Don't make it like so what do you do for work? Oh, so what do you like these scripted questions? Keep it away from work. Keep it in the moment. Ask genuine questions and genuinely listen. And as she's speaking, reiterate that you're listening to her by repeating something she said so she knows she's being heard. Then she'll keep talking. And that's what women connect with when they get to express themselves to you. That's where you connect with a woman. Did that answer your question? STDs must be disclosed prior to intercourse. Absolutely. That is a law. But don't bank on that. There's been a lot of guys that caught the clap or herpes or something, but not wrapping it up. And you can still catch herpes by wearing a condom. For the sake of STDs, look, get a pack of condoms, keep one or two on you. They got so many different grades of condoms now. You have these ultra thins and all these different kinds. You can find something that's comfortable. But if you just met a chick and she's ready to fuck, wrap that thing. You don't want a baby and you don't want a disease. But they should. Legally, they're obligated to tell you if they have an STD. And I know that for a fact. And just for informational purposes, I've never had an STD. Well, that was it. That's a good. Have you ever been catfished? Oh, yeah. I got a wild story for you. So this was years back. This was about 5 years ago, maybe. I'd just gotten into the dating apps, and I was on this crappy one. It was Plenty of Fish, I think it was. Just like a bunch of low tier, like, ugh. Then I was just fucking with it one night. I was bored. I was sitting at home. It was like 10:30 at night. And I remember I was about to watch the movie Thor. And my phone alerted, and there was somebody who liked my profile on Plenty of Fish. I'll click on, open it up. There's this chick with a picture of the vantage point of her laying on the end of her bed, like looking toward the foot of the bed with her feet up in the air behind her. She had these big old titties. And the face was cute-ish. You know what I mean? She wasn't a fucking 10, but wasn't terrible. Average. So I got in a message. I messaged her. I don't even remember what I said. And she said, no, no, no. Oh, I asked her, what are you doing up this late or something like that. And she said, oh, I was just about to relax. What are you doing? I said, I'm about to put a movie on. And she said, what movie? I said, a classic, Thor. Want to come watch? She said, yes, send your address. Okay, I sent my address. And remember, I've only had 2 pictures on her profile to look at. About 30 minutes later, knock, 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 knock. I get a knock on the door. There she is. I open the door. This chick was as tall as me and 4 times my size. Huge. Like big fupa, fat, like chubby face, double chin. I was like, what the fuck? And she said, hey. I said, who are you? She said, we just talked. I said, this doesn't look anything like you. I said, you're going to have to leave. She said, I drove all the way over here for nothing. I said, no, you drove all the way here and you have to leave because you misrepresented yourself. I said, I don't want to be with somebody that's dishonest. I said, you got to leave. And I shut the door. Yes, that's happened. And I've been catfished in other instances, not quite as severely as traumatizing as that. But yeah, it's not an uncommon thing. And look, what you got to understand is chicks are pros at bringing out the best of themselves in pictures and stuff. They know how to stand with their arm out and their hip out a little bit, with their leg bent, one leg straight to accentuate the ass, and pick the perfect lighting, perfect angle. Like if you ever seen a girl take a selfie, like if I take a selfie to post on Instagram, I take like 2 pictures and I pick the best out of 2. If they both suck, then they both suck. I'll pick the best of the sucky. I'll pick the least sucky one. Women don't do that. Women will take upwards of 40, 50 pictures to pick one. So they're masters at this. Masters of disguise. And they'll put the makeup on, the lighting, the perfect fitting clothes, the perfect angle, everything. And they'll even misrepresent. They're only going to show you the best of themselves, as most people do on dating apps. They're going to show the best. So there's a few things you can look for. Arm fat, like a chick who's standing in a picture, you can see this little wrinkle of fat right here, this round, overly sized fat lump. Double chin. And a lot of them are, if they're pictures from here up, from the tits up, she's fat. Because attractive women want to show you their whole body. And they'll throw in a little bikini pic in there, like, oh, look at my Starbucks cup. And it's got nothing to do, obviously, with the Starbucks. But, so yeah, just a few little pointers to think about when you go to swipe right or agree to the date. One of my worst dates was a girl trauma dumping everything on me and telling me about her insecurities, mental issues, and toxic acts. Oh, disaster. Absolutely a disaster. Run. That's why I say, if you sense some shit like that, if your spidey senses start kicking up at the beginning of the date, cut it short. End it. Just, you don't have to stay. Pay the bill. Get the fuck. You're not obligated to stay and sit through her and be her therapist. And like women who do that are so uncalibrated and dysfunctional anyway. If she'll do that on the first date, think about what that relationship looks like a year from now. Tell me I'm wrong. I hope you left, Triple Ace. I hope you got up and left. Well, anyway, that's about the top of the hour. We went over, huh? Oh, no. We have 54 minutes. Still, we're going to wrap. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. Thank you. I really do. I'm truly grateful for your support and your attendance here and your participation. DT, Hunter, and Triple Ace tonight. You know, my regulars that come in here on my stream and support me. Thank you so much. Make sure you hit that like button, comment, subscribe. Get me up in that algorithm. Let's get this channel out there. Let's get it going. Let's fill this chat room up. We need to see by December, I'd like to have 50 in the lives at a time. And we can do that if the channel is growing and getting out there. It's not going to grow and get out there if you don't hit the like button. And thank you very much. Remember, Patreon, I put a survey up in here asking about Patreon. So answer that. I want to build my membership before I even go through all the hassle of committing myself to doing that on a weekly basis. Remember, tier 1, once a week, hour and a half, 2-hour sessions, just us and me getting to the nitty gritty. And you get all the content that we really can't go into deep on here on YouTube, to the good stuff that you really want to know. And super chat, I have my super chat now. So hit that super chat, drop a donation if you feel like this was of value to you tonight or anytime. And thank y'all again for coming in. I'll see y'all next week. Same day, same time.